Remember from the key concept here that slope is the measure of the steepness of a line. It represents the ratio of the rise, that is the vertical distance, to the run, or the horizontal distance, between 2 points on the line. In a proportional relationship, slope is the same as the unit rate and constant of proportionality. Now, eventually we're going to be talking about lines that are not in a proportional relationship. However, for right now, we can assume that each of these lines that begins at the 0, 0 point is that proportional relationship, which means our rise over run does have that property. It is that unit rate. Remember, rise is how far it moves up or down, and the run is how far it moves from side to side. So your change in your x coordinates and your change in your y coordinates are then subtracted to get that slope value. Number 1, what is slope? Remember, slope is the steepness of a line. That means how steeply it rises or how steeply it falls. Lines like this that move up and away from that origin have a positive slope. However, lines that move like this, that move down and away from the origin, have a negative slope. So you can tell by looking at the direction of the line whether the slope value will be a positive number or a negative number. Number 2, how is the slope related to unit rate? Well, you might recall that in a proportional relationship, the slope is the same as that unit rate. And again, this works for proportional relationships only. Number 3, why is the slope between any 2 points on a straight line always the same? Recall that a straight line describes a constant relationship. So the slope means that the line is rising or falling at that same rate. So therefore, the slope is going to be the same between any 2 points on that straight line. Number 4, what is the slope of the line? Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to identify some ordered pairs. I see an ordered pair here, and I see another one here, and I see another one up here. And I can pick any 2 of those points in order to find the slope between them. So I'm going to choose this ordered pair here, represented by 2, 6, and this ordered pair up here, represented by 3, 9. To find the slope of the line here, I need to find the difference in the y coordinates, 9 minus 6, and the difference in the x coordinates, 3 minus 2. So the slope of this line is equal to 3. In other words, for every $3, you can get 1 pound of grapes. And that's this point right here. Now look at number 5. The scale of a model airplane is shown in the graph. Find the slope of the line using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to take those ordered pairs that were given. Okay, the y2 number is 10, and the y1 number is 5. The x2 number is 6, and the x1 number is 3. And when you simplify that, you get 5/3. So what does the slope mean in this problem situation? In order to interpret that, what we need to do is we need to look at the labels on the graph to determine what those numbers in our slope actually represent. In this problem, since we're talking about the scale of a model airplane, 5/3, remember 5 is the difference of the y numbers, which represent feet, and 3 is the difference of the x numbers, which represent centimeters. should tell us that for every 5 feet on the plane in actual size, the model is 3 centimeters. Number 6. The graph shows the number of soda bottles a machine can make over time. Use the 2 points shown to find the number of soda bottles the machine can make per minute. So what we're actually asked to do is to find the slope. So we're going to find the difference first between the y numbers, and then we're going to find the difference between the x numbers. So the y2 number is 150. The y1 number is the 50 already here. The x2 number is 6 that they already gave us, and the x1 number is 2. So 150 take away 50 leaves me with 100 on the top, and 6 take away 2 leaves me with the 4 that you see here on the bottom. Okay? And then I can simplify that even further and say 25. So the slope of the line is 25, and what that means is you can make 25 soda bottles each minute. Now I want you to try number 7. Try to fill in the boxes to show the rise and the run and determine the slope of that line. Come back and check your answer when you're finished. Hopefully you first identified 2 points on the graph. Once you have 2 points on the graph, any 2 points, it doesn't matter which 2 you selected, okay, there's more than just the 2 that I've labeled, you should be able to find the slope is 5 for this line. Now go on to number 8. Again, come back and check your answer as soon as you're ready and finished. Number 8 asks, how can you find the slope of the line that passes through the points 0, 0 and 2, 4? Explain. Well, first of all, any 2 points, you can find the slope between them by using the model that we've done before, which is subtract the y coordinates and subtract the x coordinates. And once you've done that subtraction, then you simply divide the result or simplify it. In this case, 4 take away 0 is 4, 2 take away 0 is 2, and 4 divided by 2 can be simplified to simply 2. So the slope of the line that passes through the points 0, 0 and 2, 4 is 2. Now I'd like for you to go on and finish questions 9 and 10, and then come back to the video and we'll talk about each of them. So now let's take a look at question 9. The points 2 and 1/10, negative 4 and 2/10, and 2 and 5/10, negative 5, form a proportional relationship. What is the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points? Well, I'm doing the same thing that I've done on all the other questions. I'm assigning one of those ordered pairs to be x1, y1, and I assign the other ordered pair to be x2, y2. And then I'm using those values in my equation to find slope, which is to subtract my y's and subtract my x's. And in doing that, I end up with negative 8/10 on the top and 4/10 on the bottom. And when you divide those, you get a slope of negative 2. Before we talk about the answer in number 10, I'd like for you to pay careful attention to the markings on this graph and the interval by which we are counting. So each mark in this graph does not represent 1, but instead represents 2, which means if you have a point like we do here that falls between the markings, that's where you're counting by ones. So be careful when you select your 2 ordered pairs to find the slope of that line. Hopefully, you've identified those 2 points that have been given to you. Now, work to find the slope between those 2 points. Go ahead and check your work and see if you also found the slope of the line to be negative 2. Now I'd like for you to go ahead and answer questions 11 12, 13, and 14. We'll go through each of them separately, but pause the video while you try them, and then come back and check your answers. Number 11, Part A, asks us to determine the slope of the line. It doesn't matter what 2 points you pick on that line. You should still get a slope of 10. Part B asks, what does that slope tell you? Well, in this problem, in this situation, the 10 represents 10 calories burned per minute. And in the problem, it tells us that Natalia burned those calories while running. So Natalia burned 10 calories per minute of running. Number 12, a question on a test provides this graph and asks students to find the speed at which the car travels. Anna incorrectly says that the speed of the car is 1/64th mile per hour. A, what is the speed of the car? When you find any 2 points on the line and you subtract the y coordinates and you subtract the x coordinates, you should find that the speed of the car is 64 miles per hour. B, what error might Anna have made? In this problem, Anna likely switched her y and x coordinates. And if you look at her answer is the reciprocal of the answer that is correct. So she likely subtracted the x's on the top of her slope formula and the y's were on the bottom. As we get started on number 13, it might be helpful for you to think about what the slope actually means. In this case, remember that slope equals your rise over your run. So think about this in terms of this specific problem. The water level rises 11 centimeters. Every 5 minutes, the water is running out of the garden hose. So your slope is actually 11 over 5. So now what would that be out of 10? Well, in this case, the y value would be 22 centimeters. Because a ratio of 22 to 10 is the same ratio as 11 to 5. In number 14, Part A, you're asked to find the slope of the line that passes through the 2 points, 1521 and 2535. So I did that by subtracting the y coordinates, 35 minus 21, and subtracting the x coordinates, 25 minus 15. The ratio then becomes 14 to 10, which simplifies to a ratio of 7 to 5. Part B asks us which graph represents this relationship. When I take a look at the 3 graphs here, I notice that in graph A, the line does not start at the origin. And since the problem told me at the very beginning that this was a proportional relationship, that means A cannot be the right answer because a proportional relationship would begin at the origin, 0, 0. So my choices now are B and C. Which one of those lines best represents the slope of 7/5? Make sure that you look carefully at how the axes, that means the x-axis and the y-axis, are labeled. The graph that best describes that slope is B. If you look at the interval along the x-axis, each of those lines, grid lines, represents an interval of 5. Going along the y-axis, each one of those grid lines represents an interval of 7. And remember, since the ratio, or the slope, is 7 to 5, the 7 is the y number. Those are the y coordinates on the top that you subtracted to get that top number 7. The bottom number is the subtraction you get when you subtract the x coordinates. So the 7 is the y number and the 5 is the x number, which means the point 5, 7 should be on that graph. This is the end of lesson 7-6. If you have questions, make sure that you see me before you attempt to do any more work on your own.